And Jim Crow was very powerful. And it was used to cut away from voting. But today, my generation, the YouTube, MySpace, Twitter, Facebook generation, is not fighting Jim Crow. We're not fighting to end a poll tax. As a matter of fact, Jim Crow was beaten. But like you had children, so did Jim Crow. And Jim Crow children are much more sophisticated. Matter of fact, I don't call them Jim Crow anymore. We now don't have Jim Crow. We now have what I call James Crow Jr. Esquire. And James understands that he's not just going to put a poll tax and put up barriers in communities up in Maine or in Arizona to stop people from voting. He's not going to put you up there and say, well, if you're black or if you're a woman or if you're gay, lesbian, whatever the reasons may be, he or she won't do that. The Crows have a new way. So they won't impact the vote, but they will impact the entire election. And in impacting the entire election, they have recognized, well, instead of just going to the voter, we can just go to the politician and impact them by just giving them enough money. So they are constantly fundraising, and they will do the will of those. So James Crow Jr. Esquire, who is much more sophisticated, who has a drop-top BMW, works on K Street, drinks Starbucks lattes, no longer like his father with the straw hat, has become much more sophisticated. So we must become much more sophisticated as well. And so we must put forth fair elections now at this time. It's critical because under the Fair Elections Now Act, which I am advocating, candidates for Congress would run for office without relying on large contributions. It's critical. The money from the big money bundlers and the James Crow Jr. Esquires of the world would be freed from constant fundraising in order to focus on the business of the people. People died, literally, for us to have the right to vote. And now in the 21st century, what I believe is our lunch counter moment for the 21st century, we must be as vigilant to ensure fair elections in the 21st century as they were as vigilant to ensure people could vote in the 20th century. It's critical at this time. Now, the Hop Caucus is a small organization. We now have grown to about 700,000 people in 30 states and 48 cities. Most of them, if you have heard, have not gone to college. Most of them have just been, in some cases, have rebuilt their lives or are just good people, hardworking in Detroit, in factories, or on the shipyards in Oakland, or here in the IKEA in Laurel, Maryland. Folks who want to have their say in this process. And until we fix our elections process, democracy is not going forward in America. We've got to change this. If they can have a dream like Dr. King. People died. So a young brother like me could be in a room like this and discuss elections to you. Not just black people died, but white and black, male and female, Christians, Jews, atheists, theists, Muslims, Buddhists. They died for our country. We are now at that moment now, 9 years into the 21st century, where if we do not pass the Fair Elections Act now, then we will have failed all of those who gave their lives. What does it matter if millions vote, but the election is not fair to begin with? Along with the climate, of endless wars, this election process is our lunch counter moment for the 21st century. So I conclude simply by saying this. I hope we take this moment seriously. And I hope in the audiences tonight there are Fannie Lou Hamers this morning, and Andrew Goodmans, and Medgar Evers. I hope this morning that we are gathered here today to do all we must do to ensure that the legislation that is being pushed forth now passes. Because if we don't pass it now, 9 into the 21st century, we would have failed all those who gave their lives in the 20th century. Let's pass fair elections now. Thank you.